Sometimes, if you listen really hard, you can almost hear it.
Our first ever instant star is...
You're it, girl. You're the real thing.
That moment your life changes.
It's about a girl who is just about to fly off and see the world.
Forever.
Jude Harrison!
Stephen Stohn, welcome back to the Breakdown podcast. We are so excited to talk to you about Instant Star Season 2 today.
Well, glad to be back and glad to see you again. It's been a while.
Yeah, it's been at least a year, if not longer. We've taken an extremely long time to finish Season 2.
Yeah.
I wanted to start with, I guess, the difference between Season 1 and Season 2, because we felt like when we started Season 2 that there was a definite shift in a lot of things, particularly, well, the first thing we noticed was the shift in the opening credits from the retro CD opening credits to the glitzy and glamorous credits that stayed till the end of Season 4. What changed between Season 1 ending and Season 2 happening? And yeah, just out of interest, why did you change the opening credits?
Well, now, and first of all, and this goes for the entire discussion that we have, we're talking about something that was almost 20 years ago. So, casting my mind back to that time does take something. But in the second season of any series, you learn stuff from the first season. Like the first season you're in, yes, you've written some scripts and you go forward and you produce and you find out, the strengths and weaknesses of writers, of actors, of different people. And it's difficult. You try and change and improve as you go along, but it's not really until you get to the second season that you can sit back, really figure out what works and what doesn't, and try and plunge forward. But there was the second season is a very interesting one to me. It's not my favorite season. I think it's and why do I say that? To me, it's like a pastiche of things that happen in the various episodes, and each of which, for the most part, makes some sense, but it's sort of hung together kind of loosely. It's almost like more of a setup for Season 3 than a season in and of itself. And it started out in a little bit of an art imitates life, imitates art, because Alex was partly going through the same things that Jude was going through, but behind the scenes. And what I mean by that is I think Season 2 had a lot to do, if there was a central theme, it might have been, art versus commerce. Mm-hmm. And can you be truly authentic as an artist and do something commercial at the same time? And there's no easy answer to that. There's no right or wrong answer to that. Different artists have started out sometimes in, very odd parts of their career, but they carry on, they develop, and they mature into other art, and in effect they're remaining authentic all the time. Of course, in the early parts of their career, they don't have as much control over what they're doing. And art without commerce has a total validity, but it's hard to pay the rent. Mm-hmm. Whereas commerce without art, it just has no particular appeal to me, but it has appeal to a lot of them. There's artists out there that just do that. I wouldn't even call them artists. I'll call them entertainers.
Yeah, absolutely.
And it works. And nothing wrong with it. People are entertained. So behind the scenes, I realize that I'm sort of gabbling on here. But behind the scenes, Alex was going through some of the same things that Jude was going through, and it's ironic as I look back on it. But we start off in episode 1 with her refusing to sing a cover song, because it's just not authentic. To her, it's
Mhm.
not. It's not authentic. And I have a story about the cover song, which we can talk about later. But
Yes.
and then at the very end of the season, she's refusing to perform at all, or at least not the way Darius wants her to perform on the show. And and in both cases, and it carries on through the season. Um, it's partly due just to what she's going through. She's growing up, she's learning, she's trying to do things, but she's conflicted with who am I?
Yeah.
Yeah.
And we often said when we were rewatching it, I think it's easy to forget that at this point Jude is 17, or not
Yeah.
even 17 at the beginning of.
Not even she becomes 17 during the season.
Yeah, that's so young.
Yes, and Alex herself, I'm trying to think how old Al would have been, but probably not much older, like 18 maybe. I'm not sure. Yeah. Yeah, you can
Mhm.
figure it out from just multiplying. Yes.
Yeah, absolutely. Did you feel
Yeah,
like you?
but I think she was 18, so not much older than Jude, and going through her own things behind the scenes. So, for example, when you look at the song credits, Al didn't write one of the songs. I think Bren may have written one of the songs,
Mhm.
but not Al. She was feeling, well, it's not really my music. It's sort of they're talented songwriters, and I appreciate them, but it's not really me, so I don't want to be part of it. And
Mm.
that changed, that evolved, and she became back more involved in later seasons. But she was sort of uh, going through this in many ways the same thing that Jude was going through, which is a very it's fascinating.
Yeah, life always imitates art.
Yes.
Did you feel like you knew by the time season two was being written that you knew the fan base a bit more, or were you still figuring that out?
Um, you always learn, and we were always, whether it was in Degrassi or Instant Star, we were always very active on social media and interacting with the fans. So you learn more. But of course, when producing season one, it's not on the air. You're just producing it.
Yeah.
So you don't have the chance to interact with the fans. And by season two, you do start to have that. You've been able to interact and find out a little bit more exactly what they're going for.
Yeah, that's interesting.
Um, I have a question. So, was there? I'm guessing how did you see the fan base grow from season one going into season two?
Yes, the fan base grew each year.
Okay.
And understandably, because people would get involved. I mean, you were either a Tommy girl, or you were a Jamie
Mm.
girl, or you were a Steve
Yes.
girl, or boy. Um, but you're getting to know these characters, and you're starting to care for Jude, but also for some of the other characters, and even some of the characters that you don't really like, you're sort of intrigued by. And the more you
Mm.
get to know them, the more you can get engaged with them.
Right. Like I know for me personally, Sadie has always been my personal favorite. I think it's because I'm not really into the whole artistry music. Like I enjoy music and I get a lot out of it, but I'm not a writer. I'm not a singer. I enjoy business aspects of life. I'm an older sister. I'm a protector.
Hmm.
So I always really related to Sadie. She was a favorite of mine.
Yeah, well, and a favorite of a lot of people. And of course, she went on to have just an extraordinary career,
Mhm.
and and she's one of the nicest people in the universe.
Oh,
Uh,
that's awesome.
yes, Laura is. Yes.
Yeah, she's. I definitely follow like her and Alex and Tim and you know uh, a few of them afterwards. It
Yeah.
was really interesting too because I started. I was a Degrassi Garden, and then I was like, "Oh, a new Steven show. Let's see, check this out." And then from I found a lot of my favorite nowadays actors and actresses through watching some of TV shows, and so I really appreciate that because it's opened my TV experiences.
Yeah,
Um,
and in different shows, different actors show different things and become yes, and
yeah.
but you're getting to know them. And I always think being an actor is one of the most difficult things in the world because on the one hand, you're acting. So in that sense, you're not being yourself. You're trying to be somebody else. You're trying to get into everything. But the really great actors allow their deep insides, their own deep vulnerability, their own deep authentic self to shine through the characters, whichever character there are. So it's a
Mhm.
very, very um, tricky and interesting balance. And if you think of being an actor, and there you are surrounded by 40, 50, or 100 camera people and extras and everything, and everybody's looking at you, and and
Mhm.
you're just trying to get into your own self and into your own character, and sometimes doing extremely vulnerable and sensitive things. Um, wow, what a joy it is when
Mhm.
it happens, and I thoroughly admire it.
Absolutely.
God bless those who can, because not many have that talent. So God bless them
Yeah,
who can. Uh,
And
exactly.
oh yeah, do you have another question, Sam?
yeah. Just how did you want? I'm guessing. How did you want season two to be different from season one? Did you want the like more drama? Did you want more of the kind of like you said lingering fillers? I guess.
But what we were trying to do, and I think we succeeded in some ways, and in other ways didn't, but was this sense that, I mean, you win a contest, and you think, okay, well, I've done it. I've reached the pinnacle. And really, that is only the beginning. And
Mm-hmm.
then as you go through, just this sense that being a celebrity, being an artist, um, a lot of people sort of dream about this as being the most ideal life you can possibly imagine. Clearly, in some ways, it is. I mean, if you're a Jude, you have, these amazing friends,
Mm-hmm.
um, friends and lovers. But you've got this amazing sister. You've got Tommy. You've got Jamie. You've got Kat. I mean, these are all very interesting people. Speederman, very, very interesting people who are part of the pastiche of your life. I mean, we should all be so lucky as to have a group of people who you care about and who care about you. At the same time, they're dealing with the fact that you are different. I mean,
Yeah.
you talk about Sadie being one of your favorite characters. Well, the sister is watching her sister going through some things, and she doesn't have the same advantages that,
Mm-hmm.
it seems to her that Jude is just sort of coasting along and gets whatever she wants. But what we
Right.
see in season two, and certainly by the end of it, is practically everyone in her life, including her parents, she's sort of either driven them away or they're having their own problems dealing with this celebrity. And so
Mm.
it's in that sense, it's not a great place to be. And I actually think if just leaving instant star to one side, being being famous, being really good looking, being it's one of it's good, but it's really, really difficult because you start to be surrounded by people who aren't loving you for who you really are. They're loving you
Mm.
because you're famous or and they may think they're loving you for who you really are, but really, no, it's just the glitz and the glamour and everything around it. I
Right.
love the fact that the people around Jude are not afraid to be themselves and to tell Jude that she's being an idiot
Mm-hmm.
in their own ways. They all tell her that.
Yeah.
And by the way, and I will say in real life, because you watched Degrassi, I am so pleased that Aubrey Graham grew up in Toronto and that he currently still surrounds himself by people he knew in high school. And those
Mhm.
people are able to tell him you are and use much more colorful language. You
I'm
know,
sure.
tell him exactly what they think. So he can trust them. He can know them. They are true friends. Whereas people that he would have met, later on, yeah, they're cool and he likes them and he's surrounded by, basketball players and, all of this kind of stuff. But it's different. So it is
Right.
different being a celebrity. And I think that's what we were driving for in season
Hmm.
two. And that's why I say it's more setup-y in some ways, because then
Hmm.
how do you pull out of that? And clearly by the end of season two, Jude is not in an easy place.
Right.
Um, I mean, she is in one sense because the record Miracle of Miracles is doing well,
Hmm.
despite the fact that she's going through all these things. But it's not it ain't easy.
Yeah, I think you
Right.
captured that really well.
Yeah.
Let's dive into the characters because season two sees a departure of some characters and an introduction of some new ones. I know that it was a very long time ago, but if you can remember even the reasons, why were characters like Jude's mom, Kat, and even EJ and Georgia written out of season two?
I'm not going to be able to give a completely satisfactory answer because it was too long ago, and there's a writer's room, and they want to develop stories, and it may be that certain characters just didn't um, lend themselves to the stories that they wanted to tell.
Hmm.
The parent story is an interesting one. I mean, the writers clearly wanted to um, get at the difficulty of being a, a celebrity child,
Right.
and 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 um, and there are parents who are going through their own thing, and they're real parents. They're going through things that normal parents go through, but their child is affected by it, and they don't know really how to support. And that's one of the things about being a celebrity or being an artist is people don't really know what you're going through. Yes, you're my daughter, but um, I don't understand what it's like to be in the studio. I don't want to understand what being like me, being pulled in all these different directions.
Yeah.
And I don't know that it was a conscious choice of the writers. Oh, let's write out the mother and I forget whether the father continues on in season three, but the parents they sort of had a role to play in season two as being one of the people in Jude's orbit, the best friend number two, other people, the bandmate who's sort of a best friend,
Yeah.
um, who are all part of her life and all having difficulty sort of getting through to her.
Yeah. It's interesting because for every character that leaves, we almost get a brand new one. So this season we get Liam, Mason, and one of my favorites, Patsy, who I just think
Yes.
is a breath of fresh air for season two.
Well, and Patsy is extremely important for season two. You're absolutely right, because Patsy absolutely represents art for the sake of art.
Yes.
Yeah.
The- yeah, to hell with commerce.
Yeah.
I mean, she's obviously got some talent. She can do things. But if she does it, it's going to be absolutely her way. And everybody else can go to hell.
Absolutely. And I
Yeah.
think she becomes one of the most important characters in the rest of the series as well.
Yes.
Did you consider keeping either Liam or Mason for season three? I think Liam would have been a really interesting season three character.
Liam is interesting. I mean, Mason sort of comes and goes. I'm not sure what we would have done more with. I mean, you could have him back, but um, he's he's a good foil in the sense that he's another instant star. So he sort of knows what Jude is going through.
Yeah.
But of course, every year there's a new instant star, so we can bring on another instant star, which we do, and see what the dynamic is there. But by the time you get to season 3, Liam is interesting on the art and commerce scale as well, because secretly he's got art, but he sure hides it well.
Mm-hmm.
It's a little bit unbelievable that he and Jamie bonded so quickly in
Yes.
that sort of 2/3 of the way through the season. You can sort of get it. I mean, I buy it. I think we could have done a better job to sort of hint at it so that it didn't seem quite as shocking that they could actually become friends. But I would have been interested to carry on with
Because, yeah, I
with
think
Liam. I mean, there's only so many stories you can tell, and as the writers beat out stories for a new season, there's certain themes that they want, certain tracks they want to go down, and they realize, well, this character could be there or could not be there. They're not really adding. Yeah.
yeah.
Although I kind of love the shock of Jamie and Liam being at the concert, and I could see their friendship. I was like,
Well, I love the scene of Jamie just talking about what a total
yeah,
idiot in more colorful words that
Yeah.
Liam is, and Liam is right there. I mean,
Yes.
that was a cool thing.
yes. It's like now that it's 20 years later, I have been in that situation, and I'm just like, foot meat mouth.
Yes. But one of the interesting thing is I'm a great believer in the phrase, I forget where it comes from. Maybe it comes from the Bible, I don't know, but the truth shall set you free.
Yes.
There's nothing like just speaking out the truth, and it can be horrible, but most of the time it actually, it gets down to the root of things, and that's what Jamie was doing. And then he discovers that there's something different, which we do discover with other people we don't like or people we think are idiots, and we realize, hey, wait a minute, they've got another side to them. And so
Yeah.
so Liam's an interesting character that way.
Mm-hmm. Can you talk about Tommy fleeing at the end of season 2? It was Chloe and I have discussed this many a times over the last 20 years. That we kind of got the feeling it was implied that the little car was his, but then when we pick up in season 3, it was, I think, by episode 2. Oh wait, she's Darius's. Was that always the plan for her to be Darius's kid? Was it a pivot?
I'm going to say something that I don't know whether what I'm saying is true or not, because it's so long ago.
Mm-hmm.
But I think that the writers ended season 2 on a cliffhanger, and they didn't actually know.
Oh, and
as they started breaking season 3, things evolved. Now, I could have been wrong. I could be wrong. Maybe they knew all along, but I'm not sure they knew, or if they knew, I'm not sure they were 100% certain.
That makes sense.
okay.
Yeah.
I mean, that's always the fun with cliffhangers. So
Yeah. And it's part of the fun thing about creative collaborations and working on something like a television series is, yes, you may think you're going in a direction, but then as you do the new season, oh, wait a minute, maybe actually we're going, oh, I wonder if we do it this way.
Yeah, you never want to be too obvious.
Yes.
Yes. So, this kind of hit home, and I think it's also because we're watching it now as we're in our 30s and grown women, and life is lifing to us. I caught, and I think Chloe caught also a lot of almost like mental health struggles towards the end of the season with Jude. And
Absolutely.
like, back then it wasn't shown, it wasn't so accepted or talked about in everyday life. I mean, when I was in high school, I was the weird kid for having a depression disorder and for being in counseling. And so you
Yeah.
didn't see it on TV. It wasn't accepted. And now everybody and their mother has anxiety. And
Yeah. And it's depicted and people talk about it. Yes. I mean,
yeah,
20, 30 years ago, you just wouldn't, if you had a relative who was mentally ill, you just would not talk about it.
right.
Whereas now people are very, very open. Now, of course, as producers, Linda and I and Degrassi had no problem talking about
Right.
mental illness and developing that. So it wasn't, sorry, it wasn't new to us. Um, but it's a reality. And of course, 20 years later, mental illness, particularly following the pandemic years. Um, it's what society is going through now, what's going on in the United States, what's going on all around the world, artificial intelligence coming in. I mean, it is just all around us. But you're right,
Mhm.
back in, I guess, season two would have been around 2006, so like almost 20 years ago. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or 2005 maybe it was. But anyway, um, yeah, so not as prevalent on television, but in some ways, each of the characters had not mental illness. Like Jamie doesn't have a mental illness really, but he's he's being a teenager. I mean,
Yeah.
he's doing some stupid things, he's doing some excellent things, but they're all
Hmm.
doing that. Whereas Jude is, you can't really blame her with her parents going through a divorce and not being there for her, her sister stealing from her,
Yeah.
her
Right.
her best friend Jamie doing his best, but you should not be both a best friend and a manager. It just doesn't work.
No.
This older guy who's your record producer, um, and throw everything into the, oh, and Kat, kissing your father
Oh God, yeah.
Yeah.
and having her own difficulty with it. That, by the way, is not one of my favorite episodes. Um, so faced with all that, who wouldn't have some mental
Oh
issues?
yeah. No, right. I mean, I totally understand and got where she was coming from, and I think it was like the emotional iceberg. Like we saw that with everybody. You see the tip, but it's all underneath. And
Yes. Yeah.
um, do you think if you were like given the chance to kind of go back and do Instant Star now, would you kind of make that more prevalent to like a big thing for me is like as much as I like you can tell me about OTP, I'm not even gonna lie.
Yeah.
Looking at it now as a almost 38-year-old woman, I am like red flag, toxicity. My alarm bells are just ringing. Um,
Yeah. No,
unhealthy.
and it's interesting you say that. The way I look at it is this, and different people are different, but for some people, and I would say that Jude is one of these people. Um, some people, the ideal is the soulmate, and we'll spend the rest of our lives together, and it's just the two of us, and we'll
Mm-hmm.
go right off into the sunset.
Yes.
I'm not sure how realistic that is for 99% of the population. And I think someone like Jude yes, needs the excitement of the Tommy. I mean, and it's combined. I mean, he's a good-looking guy, and
Yeah.
he's got all this creativity, and how exciting can that be? But she also needs. There's different people in her life that she needs her sister.
Yeah.
I mean, she
Mm-hmm.
may hate her sister at times, but she needs her sister. She needs Jamie. You
Right.
know, she needs someone like Speederman who just is not afraid to say, make fun of her and tease her and call her
Mm.
dude and do all that. The Every one of those is important to her life. So I'm not one who says, "Oh, I think it should be Jude and Tommy forever," necessarily.
Oh.
Um, I I think they should be together in and out of their lives, but I'm not
Mm.
convinced that would be healthy.
Yeah, that's
Mm.
interesting.
Yeah, yeah.
That's very interesting. I haven't even stopped to think of it that way, but that's I can see
Well, and,
that.
and and it's sort of the same thing you're saying in a way because you raise it up with red flag, red flag.
Mm-hmm.
It's um, yeah, but I'm doing it in a more positive way that uh, you can have different people in your lives who are very, very important, but in different ways.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Speaking of couples in this season, this is actually a fan question. Why was it decided to pair Jude and Speed together as a couple for a little bit?
Um, I don't honestly remember, but if you think about it, and it is very natural when you're making music with people, and when you're 17 years old or 16 or 17 years old, you're trying different things, and it would be absolutely natural to just get together, and it either works out or it doesn't work out. But
Mm-hmm.
it's not like, oh, when you're 16 or 17, you can be with Jamie one day and you can be with Speed but the next day, and it's not like you're being horrible. You're just being
Yes.
a teenager.
You're right.
Hmm.
Well, and that's one thing I liked about with both Instant Star and with I said I watched Degrassi. I think I came in season 3, and now I've watched all 14 season plus new class.
Yeah.
Question.
Okay. Yeah.
Can't
In other
math.
words, all 425 of the new episodes.
Yeah, something like that. Um, but for most of the ships I've had, they remained friends. Um, there were a few I didn't see coming. Sean and Emma,
Well, yes.
but not Sean and
Who
Emma.
did see that coming? And certainly not
Spinner
yours
and Emma.
truly.
Yeah. But Speed and Jude remain friends, and Jude and Jamie, and not as great of friends, but Sean and Emma, and Jimmy and Ashley, and that happens for the most part when you're a teenager, and it's not until we grow up and are looking for more quote unquote who do we want to spend our life with does it get
Yeah.
more cut and dry.
Yeah. And in 2 years' time, when we're talking about season 4,
Yeah.
we'll get into that even more. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And certainly in the final episode. Yeah.
Yes. Uh, so it's implied that Tommy cheats on Sadie at one point in the season. I think when Quest brings all his I think it's his sister, his cousin, back to the label. Did the writers have any idea as to whether he did or didn't, or is that just kind of up to the
Um,
fan?
well, I have my own idea. I don't think he did. I genuinely
Hmm.
don't think so. Um,
Okay.
yeah. I he could have, and I wouldn't be, really judgmental if he had, but I think I think it's just hard, and it's particularly hard, for people looking in on it, for a 17-year-old looking in, I guess Sadie would maybe be. Do we know how old she is? Is she 19 at that point,
I
or
I
think
think
so.
she's
is
like
Yeah.
19, going on
yeah?
20. Yeah.
So you're still very, very young and very vulnerable, and
Mm-hmm.
it's almost uh, the fear that it might be true sort of overwhelms you and is more
Right.
important even than whether it's true or not, because
Yeah.
okay, If he did, he did. I mean, no,
Yeah.
let's move
Yeah,
on.
that's interesting.
Well,
Um,
and Sadie too is also going through everything with the parents that Jude is going through.
Yeah.
And I think this is coming from being an older sister. There was a lot of times that I felt I was held to a higher standard. And then when my younger sibling outshined me, I was like, oh, I have to work twice as hard because I'm not measuring up. And
Right.
I mean, I think that's just one reason why I could really relate to Sadie because I
Yeah.
saw a lot of myself in her when I was
Yeah.
that age.
No, and
Um,
I if the series had gone on, I mean, I would have liked to have seen Sadie become the head of the record company.
yeah,
oh, I would have loved
You know,
that.
Darius could be in the background, um,
Yes.
and he can be the chairman, but he's got other things that he can do. Um, but Sadie's got it together in a lot of ways, but she's going
Mm-hmm.
through stuff too, as you say.
Yeah. Okay.
let's dive into the music because obviously it's such an important aspect of the show. We hear Jude do a couple of duets on or during season two, including Anyone But You with Speederman and Who Am I Fooling with Mason. Was there a reason why on the soundtrack it was just Alex singing those songs?
Um, Stepping back, remember at this point, and actually I'll talk about the first episode. Our record company was Universal, which is the biggest record company. So
Mm.
we put out the season one soundtrack, but as it was going out and sort of promoting it at radio and things like that, Alex herself became very concerned about being too associated with that music because it wasn't her music.
Yeah.
So she was
Mm.
sort of pulling back from it, but she hadn't sort of pulled back entirely, but she was pulling back.
Mhm.
Meanwhile, the head of Universal in Canada was intrigued by the entire Instant Star and was saying, "Hey, if we could get, why don't you do a song by Garbage called Stupid Girl?" And if you do that, because I think Alex could do a killer job on it, then we would really throw our promotional muscle behind the soundtrack for season
Mm.
two. So we did that, and it's the one song, it's one of these things is not like the others. On 52 episodes or however many episodes there were, every single song was written by people involved with us, with the exception of Stupid Girl.
I love the Stupid Girl
Mm-hmm.
cover though.
Yes, and Alex herself, by the time we actually got into season two and we're doing it, really was not wanting, and that's why she wasn't co-writing any of the songs. She came back later on and started to get more back involved in it. Um, but sorry, I'm forgetting exactly what your question was and why I got in. I sort of got into this by saying oh yes, it's why the soundtrack had her. We had different sort of things.
Yes.
Part of that is just mechanical that
Okay.
we had those tracks and we might have had a little snippet with the two of them singing, but we might have created that just for the scene.
Yeah, okay.
Mm.
Part of it was we started to have on the soundtrack not Alex singing. And I forget what, certainly by season three, I think we were
Correct,
very
yeah.
much that. We could only have a few of them with her on it. She just didn't want to sing all of them. And I forget on season two, you can tell me, did she sing all the
He did
songs on
all
the
of them, yeah.
soundtrack? Okay.
Yeah.
So she was still willing to do that, but she was sort of backing away from promoting it or doing anything. So, um, uh, I don't think there was necessarily a reason why you've got a duet in one case. Or, for example, actually, and a good example, and one of my favorite songs, There's Us, um, you've got sort of two different versions of that song in the television show. And I
Mm-hmm.
really like the way it goes back and forth between the two of them. It
Me
was
too.
it was sort of
Right.
a work of art to create that. But you can't necessarily do that on a record as well.
Yeah, we loved that musical moment where it goes between the two. It was so
Yeah.
clever.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So speaking of There's Us, and okay, my little like '90s boy band heart is flipping. Backstreet Boys covered that.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
Well, it was written by, I know it was written by there was a few people, my friend Christopher Ward and Rob Wells, and there may have been a couple of others who co-wrote it. I forget who did. But my friend Christopher, and he and I had written songs when we were younger. I mean, we've been friends for ages, but he'd
Mm-hmm.
had quite a career. He wrote Black Velvet for Alana Miles, which became just this standard hit that people,
Oh
still sing to
wow.
this day. And Rob Wells is a really well-known producer, and his brother actually has produced everybody from Katy Perry on through. You just name it. It's like so,
Mm.
so there's connections with the music industry in one way or another through their publishing companies. They got it to
Okay.
Backstreet Boys, and it got recorded. I was delighted. I thought, oh, we're creating this little television show, and hey, the Backstreet Boys want to record one of our songs.
Yeah, I saw that and I was just like, oh man, I kind of
Yeah.
had a freak out. Um, and then this is just a personal favorite. Do you prefer season one or season two soundtracks? And what's your favorite season two song?
Oh, well, I'll answer the first or the last question first. There's Us is up there, but I'm a Liar Liar fan. I
Same.
just
Yes.
really the emotion of um, and somehow it mixed with the picture really well. Like the two of them are, it's a little bit far-fetched that they somehow get locked in this place together. But you ask, is Tommy a liar or not? But whatever, it's somehow in the song, liar, liar. It doesn't matter. It says, "Tell me you love me," and it doesn't
Yeah.
matter if you're lying.
Yeah.
I
Mhm.
mean, I just really like that sentiment. I thought the lyrics were really great, and the melody were really great in that song.
Yes.
And I just can't. It's been a while since I listened to the first season soundtrack. So yeah, I'm not going to compare the two. I'll ask you which soundtrack did you like better?
I'm a season two girl myself.
Yeah, I'm a season two.
Yeah, I mean, I think we were getting our act together more. We knew more how to run the songwriter camps, and
Mm.
the songwriters were getting more used to getting the scripts in advance and then creating. It was a very interesting process because they would read the scripts and go off and write the songs. Then the script writers would hear the songs and would modify the scripts back to. So it became a very integrated process, particularly starting in season two because we just knew more what we were doing.
Yeah,
Mhm.
absolutely.
I think the music just there was. I really enjoyed season one. Season two's music just seemed a lot deeper. I think
Yeah,
a lot more
yeah. There
emotional.
were some. It was a greater variety of songs. I mean, I'm a White Lines fan as well, kind
Yes.
of.
Oh my
But
gosh,
that's sort of
hard
right
lines.
outside the. It's sort of at the far end of the spectrum, and um,
Mm-hmm.
yeah.
Okay, we have a few bonus questions and
Okay.
that's it from us.
Okay. Okay. And then, so do you have a favorite episode of season two?
Oh, that's interesting. I have my least favorite episode is I forget what it's called. I think the song was Fade to Black, but it's where Kat kisses uh,
It's
Jude's
called
father.
Viciousness, I think, from memory.
What was it called, Fish? The and we sort of go off into this dream sequence when Jude is watching the film, and I just never quite really got what was going on in that. And I thought it was over the top. It was interesting to me that Kat was very self-aware.
Mm.
which you
Hmm.
want a friend to be. And I thought, well, if you're that self-aware, then can't you can't you just rise above it all and just say, well, let's just try. But no, she was very definite. No, I just got to split.
Yep.
Yeah.
Um, and and I didn't quite buy that. I certainly bought the fact that it's very difficult to have a best friend who's a celebrity
Hmm.
and who, people fall in love with more easily.
Yeah.
Right.
Um, but yeah, I just didn't think it was that particular episode was developed as much, but just as a pastiche, as sort of getting into that whole idea, the theme that no, it's difficult. It worked.
Mhm.
So and as for do I have a favorite episode? What's your favorite episode?
Oh man. I really like Mother's Little Helper, and I love. I'm drawing on the blank.
So what's Mother's Little Helper?
Where
Remind me.
Jude's mum leaves.
Oh,
Yeah.
right. Yeah.
And I really like the one. I can't think of the name, but I know it's the one where they Alex performs White Lines.
Oh,
That's
right. Yes. Yeah,
12.
right near the very end.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
probably my favorite, number 12.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so she's in the tour bus, I think, and
Yeah.
they've sort of set up
Yeah.
the studio there. Yeah, I really like that scene.
I
Yeah.
love I love when she's performing it, and I just love the whole like lead up to it. The chemistry between Alex and Tim, and the
Yes,
well, can you sing it now? And she's like, not with you looking at me like that. I'm like,
yeah,
We're Jude and Tommy fans over here.
yes,
yes.
if you can't help, yeah.
Well,
um,
and I think that might be the episode where Tommy says something apocryphal, like, or you don't really know is, oh, you know why, or something like
Oh,
it's a line
yes.
like
yes,
that, and
yes,
and we know that he's not saying that he has feelings
hmm,
for her, but yes.
yes.
Absolutely.
And then uh, out of season one or two, do you prefer or see which season would you prefer more?
Well, we've sort of talked about that. I think
Yeah.
as a producer, it was season one was a thrill just as a producer because the idea of and you know how we sort of started it where I was the lawyer for the Canadian version of Idol, the Canadian Idol, and my
Yes.
wife and I were sitting at the first Idol show, and either I turned to Linda or Linda turned to me and said, "Do these kids know what will happen
Hmm.
if they win?" And and
Hmm.
I'd spent a long time with them because behind the scenes on Idol, and I'm sure it's true with American Idol and all the idols around the world. You've got a single lawyer who they start with 100 people, so you're talking with all 100 about what the agreement is going to look like because you can't have 100 different lawyers negotiating what will happen if they win, and you've got to have signed the contract before, but by the time you get to the top 10 or top 11. So I got
Hmm.
to know them all the way through from the time that there was 100 down to 11 down to the one. So you get to know these people and you realize they're just kids and this will change their life and yet it's only the beginning. And
Hmm.
so uh, that was how it all started. And I turned to Linda back at the same time and said, "Yeah, we could do a show on that. That's where it really starts. That's the drama. And we could have songwriter camps and we could create a new song each episode." So then when we actually were doing it, it was such a thrill. So I like season one just um, from the perspective of sort of self-fulfillment and
Hmm.
not trying to compare the two of them. But I think I agree with you that by season two, we've got our act together a little bit more. Yeah.
Hmm.
Season one will always be magical in its own kind of way, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is our last question. It's actually a fan question, and I'm sure I think we know the answer to this. You obviously have followed Alex's career post Instant Star. Would you ever consider doing another project with her, be it TV, movie, or music?
Oh, absolutely. And for a while, we'd wrapped Instant Star and a couple of years went by. And then for a while, I did get together and helped her out with her career a bit. And then she's gone off and doing her thing. She's doing absolutely amazing on her own. She's, creating albums. She's going on tours. She's, being everything she wanted to be. So I'm just so delighted.
Yeah.
And when we do see each other, it's been a while since we've gotten together, but we always talk about, oh yeah, wouldn't it be great if?
Oh,
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
great. Well, thank you
that's
so much
awesome.
for your time today, Stephen. Like, I get that season 2 was a very long time ago, but we're really grateful for you just giving us some behind the scenes.
Well, and I'm grateful to you for reminding me of a very fond time of my life.
We're super excited to dive into season 3, and hopefully we can chat to you when we get to the end of it.
Excellent.
Thank you so much.
Okay,
Thank
thanks to
you.
both of you.
Bye.
Have a
Okay,
great night. Bye-bye.
you too. Okay, bye-bye.
Bye. Thank you for listening to The Breakdown, an Instant Star Rewatch podcast. The Breakdown was produced by me, Chloe, and Neon Network Production. Make sure to follow us on Instagram and Twitter, and listen to all episodes of The Breakdown on Apple Podcasts and Spotify. See you next time.